this is the first time we put on this event, and we're really excited to try it out. We knew, obviously the economy right now, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. Popular media has really decided to latch on to what's life like for college students as they graduate and get jobs. And so we wanted to be able to kind of put together a one-day intensive event that kind of introduces, or for some of you may reintroduce, some ideas and skills around the job search itself. Hello? No, I keep getting this. Okay. So I'm just going to take a few minutes today to talk a little bit about my job search. It was really interesting. Through high school and college, things kind of came pretty easy in terms of finding jobs. Well, I should say being a dishwasher was pretty easy to get that job. To be a lifeguard was pretty easy too. But when I got into college, every time I applied for something, whether it was orientation, group leaders, admission, all that other stuff, I always seemed to get the job, and it was really easy for me, and I really appreciated that because I didn't have to do a lot of work. Got into grad school. I was able to get an assistantship, the assistantship that was perfect in terms of my passions, wanting to do teaching and counseling. Got to the internship that everyone coveted. It was really simple, and I say that now with a smirk because that was then. Something really interesting happened. When I graduated from college, I had a great resume. I had done all the internships. I had done all the research, all the things that you're supposed to do to get the kind of jobs that I wanted. And I had a great looking resume that kind of reflected all of that stuff. And I applied to 15 jobs. I got 10 interviews. I got 3 thanks but no thanks letters. And then I got 2 that's just never got back to me. And that's where with me, having never really had someone not get back to me or reject me, some of that self-doubt started to creep in. But really what magnified it is I had 10 interviews, and I thought they went well. I was self-deprecating, you'll get to know that about me, and had good answers. But I got really used to reading these letters that came in the mail that said, thanks for applying, the applicant pool was very talented, and unfortunately we can't offer you the position at this time. It was something, they all sounded the same. So now when I have to send one of those letters, I certainly don't put in that sentence. But the thing that was really tough for me was I didn't know how to deal with failure. And to me, that was failure because I hadn't had to deal with that before. What happened? They don't want me. Am I not good enough? To me, the only variable that was consistent across all of that was me. That there must be something wrong with me. I must be bad. I internalized all of that stuff. And the reason I bring that up is because working with students for the last 10 years, I see a lot of that because you guys are incredibly talented. You were able to get into the University of Minnesota. It's a difficult process, and you're certainly persistent enough to be able to follow through and finish. And that speaks a lot to you and your talents. But a lot of students, whether it's during their college years, whether it's finding internships, jobs, other parts of their lives, it's how do you manage failure? How do you deal with or reconcile that piece of you? Because so many of you come in with incredible backgrounds that I couldn't even get into school here now. So for me, it was a really difficult thing, and I spent about 3 months kind of moping around my house in a white t-shirt and a basketball shorts. And now, I say that because even now, after 10 years, my wife refuses to let me wear that around the house because it brings back such bad memories for her. So the thing that was really important in my process was that I had my wife and I had other people, had colleagues I'd worked with in graduate school and friends who really kind of helped me kind of get past that piece and kind of get back in the game and focus on understanding the process. Because the reason I didn't get, one of the reasons might be that I didn't get those jobs because of me and I'm a bad person. I hope to, you can judge me however you want. But when it comes down to hindsight, thinking about that and thinking about those processes, a lot of it comes down to fit. And the way I think about it, I'm a sports guy, as I think about, and I'm the guy who spends all day watching the NFL draft. And my wife takes the day off and goes to the spa so she doesn't have to deal with me and my matrix, and never mind, I'm that guy. You listen to NFL teams, there's all these talented receivers, tackles, all those people available on the board that they could pick. And a lot of coaches, a lot of front office people will say, yeah, we want to find the person that's the right fit or fits our system best. And it's not always the person who's the most athletic or had the best statistics in college, is who fits that team the best. And thinking back on those 10 rejection letters that really kind of put me in a bad place in my life for a little while, is to say, I understand, and I know a lot of those people who got the jobs now that I work with them in different capacities, and I know that they're a much better fit for those jobs than I ever could have been. And so I'm very fortunate to be able to have gotten a job and move on from there. But the reason why I bring this up, other than just to make myself look silly, is to first say I understand a lot of you are looking for jobs, and you hear in the media right now that there aren't any jobs out there, it's a tough economy, all of that stuff, and it can be really difficult, and it's incredibly stressful. Finding a job, the first job out of college or after you've been laid off, is probably some of the most anxiety-ridden experiences you can have, because you don't have anything to fall back on. Once you have a job and you start looking for other jobs, it's a little less stress because you have a job and you can kind of work from there. But finding that first job was really a difficult time for me, and I know working with a lot of students that it's also difficult for you guys. And so I just wanted you to know that the people who are going to be speaking to you today went through that same process, and we understand and we deal with this kind of stuff, and we're here to help support you in that endeavor. The other reason I wanted to bring that up is because I was in Madison this weekend, and Madison. I was there mostly because I wore my Twins stuff around, and all the Brewers fans kind of threw stuff at me on the streets. That was kind of interesting. But the thing, all of the newspapers there are the same as they are here in the cities, the same as when I read Newsweek and Time and Wall Street Journal. Everything was talking about how difficult it is to find jobs, and the fact that unfortunately there's a lot of blogs and websites out there that say only the top students are able to find jobs in this economy. And the reason why I bring up my story is because the term top student is incredibly subjective, and what it means to be a top student for one company is significantly different than what it means to be a top student for another company or another nonprofit or whoever else. And a good example of that is about 5 years ago I was working with a company, and their minimum GPA to even apply to their positions was a 3.75. And one day they came to me and they said, "We're struggling. We're not getting the kind of talent that we expected when we're hiring people out of college. Could you maybe, tell us a little bit about what our competitors are doing that's different than what we're doing?" And so I looked around at jobs and different things that they had done, and I realized that all of their competitors either didn't have a minimum GPA or it was significantly lower than 3.75. And I'm not saying that high GPA students aren't incredibly talented, they very much are, but what they found is that a lot of talented students who maybe were working full-time or were involved in student organizations or other things that maybe prevented them from having the GPA that they wanted were left out of that pool. And so a lot of people who had the skills and the talents that they really desired weren't able to apply for the job. And so now, after they kind of came back to me and they realized, yep, seems to be one of the big problems, they dropped it from a 3.75 to a 2.75. So they're also understanding that they're trying to find the right students and the right individuals who are going to be a good fit for their culture, for the type of work they do, and that will want to see themselves in those places for a long period of time.